Welcome into the Table 2 Ticket, a podcast for, by, and about Table 2 carriers. My name is Adam Crosby. I am still your host. Sorry, it's been 2 weeks since my last episode. I had to go to Hawaii and then give some speeches, and then I went to Puerto Rico and gave a couple speeches. And I'm just kidding. I'm a Table 2 carrier. I haven't gone anywhere. I just hit some serious apathy from my job, obviously, and in other aspects of life. So I did take a week off. Apologies. We'll get back into it today. We're doing episode 6. Today is the 17th of December. Episode 6, the CLC Part 1. Um, as I said, my name's Adam Crosby. I'm your host. You know the drill. Let's get the legal shit taken care of. We are an opinion podcast. Anything stated on this podcast is an opinion, and it belongs to its author, and it does not necessarily represent the official views of the NALC, the Post Office, the USPS, or any other entity we talk about. So today, we're essentially, I'll be honest, I'm incredibly tired. I listened to the podcast that from Aid Arbitration put out today, the CLC. I saw the RAAs get fired, and I was angry. Probably not for the same reasons, not for the same reasons the CLC are angry, for other reasons. And I was going to do a podcast earlier, and then I had to tackle a home project, and then I was exhausted, and I haven't slept very well lately. So it's late at night right now, and I'm still exhausted. So we're gonna try and get through this really quickly. Um, it m may I'm gonna try and cut out any swear words. We'll try and keep it calm, but I was grumpy. So let's hop into it. We're going to talk about first the emergency episode from the CLC from a arbitration podcast. Um, like I said, there were two RAAs fired by National President Brian Renfro this morning or yesterday, I don't remember. Debbie Dixon and Orlando Gonzalez. Um, they were running on the CLC's ticket to be NBAs of the region. They were terminated. Uh, the result is they go back to carrying mail, right? They're not fired from having a job. They did not lose their job, or they did not lose all of their jobs. They go back to carrying mail. And lots of NBAs out there, lots of RAAs, they'll say, yeah, we're all city carriers. All right, you're going to be a city carrier. Debbie specifically, I believe she is still being paid until the end of January as a as an RAA, a regional administrative assistant. Uh, when this happened, it was bad. It was obviously political. Um, how they did it, how Brian Renfro did that, especially to Orlando. He got a voicemail firing him. That's unprofessional. It's terrible. Um, but it's not against rules, right? They serve at the behest of the president. And if you didn't expect a reaction to running against the president's ticket when you serve at his behest, then that's just naive. This idea that they were fired for no reason, right? They are running against Brian Renfro's ticket, his slate, for a reason, because they disagree with how the union is being run. That goes both ways. If you disagree, if you're running against a slate, like you're running against Brian Renfro's slate because you disagree with how the union's being run, then it's a strong possibility that the current regime disagrees with how you want things run or how you're running things. So yes, it's political, but there's obviously differences in agreement. Like there's differences in opinion on how the union should be run. That's the whole point of running against their slate. So if you have a difference in opinion on how things should be run, you obviously, if you serve at the president's behest and he disagrees with how you run things, he's going to get rid of you. Let's talk about the hypocrisy of this emergency episode. A lot of this is going to be about the hypocrisy. I find the CLC to be incredibly hypocritical, and from ADA arbitration to be very hypocritical. We're not going to hop into all of it. I mean, we go back to there's episodes of from ADA arbitration that go way back, and there's a lot of hypocrisy out there. Um, but we're not going to get into too much of it. We're going to start off by talking about the hypocrisy in this special emergency episode that the CLC and from ADA arbitration put out there. Let's start off with the simple fact that James Henry hopped on the pod, and if you listen to it, he is agitated, right? He's angry. When was the last time you heard James hop on this podcast from ADA arbitration and go on and rant in this angry fashion? It's been a long time. I don't know that I've ever heard him rant quite this angrily. The hypocrisy there is that we have 40 plus thousand backlogged grievances. We have 40,000 uh, carriers in situations where they're aggrieved. And you went and you had a special emergency angry episode because two of your people have an issue with going back to carrying mail, right? Of those 40,000 backlog cases, how many of those are employees who got dismissed and are awaiting arbitration? They lost their actual jobs and they're awaiting arbitration for years. You should be having an angry rant like that every freaking day. But those carriers don't matter to you, right? Those carriers who are in that 40,000, they don't matter to the CLC. We got to have a special emergency because two people on the CLC slate have to go back to carrying mail. Right? The CLC talks about the CLC and from ADA arbitration talk about loving all the carriers. Are these 40,000 backlog grievance carriers? Are they being treated this way? Are you throwing a fit for them? Are you having emergency episodes for all those people? No, right? This is the good old boys club. Two of your people on your slate have to go carry mail. Geez, what a burden. And you hop on and you throw a fit. That's the good old boys club, right? We got to protect our people on our slate. Oh, you get on and you have a special emergency episode for the two people because they have to go back to carrying mail. Gosh, I can't imagine all those backlog cases. How many of those are people that were dismissed without reason, waiting for their job, losing their mind? They can't pay their bills, but they're not part of the CLC. They're not on the slate, so they don't matter. They're not in that good old boys club. That's sad. Let's talk about the hypocrisy of the situation as well, right? The CLC is having a special episode, an emergency episode, because two RAAs have been fired by Brian Renfro. You know who else plans to do that? The CLC, right? How many episodes has Corey gone on and said, yeah, when we take over, right? When we're when we're installed, it's a guarantee. When we take over, if you're an MBA or an RAA and we feel you're not representing the members, we're going to get rid of you. That's been said multiple times. The CLC will use the same tactic if, in their opinion, the NBA or the RAAs aren't doing their job. They're going to come after you. It's the exact same thing. That's hypocrisy. Um, let's hop into some of the things said in this special episode from ADA arbitration. Corey, at some point, he says basically they risked it all by running against the current regime. They risked it all and they lost it all, right? They lose their whole livelihood. No, they didn't. They go back to carrying mail because they're supposed to be city carriers. You did not lose your livelihood, right? This is the problem. people treating the union like a freaking career path, right? If you live outside your means as a city carrier, the means of a city carrier at top pay, much less. I think the Orlando has 16 years of being an RAA, so I'm assuming he's at top pay, right? If you live outside your means as a temporary position where you serve at the behest of the president, if you live outside the means, if you have to go back to carrying a mail, then you're a fool. That's like a CCA going about going out and buying a really expensive house and they're still in their 90-day probation. Or a 204B going out and buying a nice new car or something because of their new position pays them more. These are temporary, not guaranteed jobs. The president, per the Constitution, has the ability to get rid of you. Oh, I don't know what to say. This is mentioned multiple times. You lost your livelihood, right? Henry says the same thing. You lost your livelihood. You have to make a, Henry says, you have to, James Henry, just to clarify, you have to make a choice between paying bills or being a person of conviction. You have to be, you have to make a choice between paying bills, right, or being a person of conviction. Basically saying that uh, if you're a person of conviction and you get fired from being an RAA and you have to go back to being a city carrier, you chose your conviction over being able to pay your bills. I think that also says uh, city carriers don't make enough to pay their bills. But you're not choosing your bills over conviction. You still have a job. You did not lose your livelihood. Oh, James Henry also says in this special episode that getting rid of these RAAs, it was anti-democratic. He calls it anti-union and anti-democratic. No shit. They're not elected people. They're not elected officers. They are placed at the behest, and then they are placed and then continue their job at the behest of the president per the Constitution. They are not elected. Thus, it's not democratic. Now, what you don't hear, right, is James Henry provide a change to that, right? Getting rid of these RAAs, which we already discussed, the CLC is also going to do. He says that's anti-democratic. Okay, so are you making it an elected position? Are you limiting the president's power when if you take over? Are you limiting the power to get rid of these RAAs? No, you said nothing on it. Crickets. Okay, so it's anti-democratic, but you're not going to do anything about it. Wonderful, right? The CLC, just this is a table two podcast. Table two. The CLC is not coming to save you. They will not prioritize you. We'll get into that later. Also, James Henry says one of my favorite phrases. He uses this one quite a bit. Oh, my house project messed up my back today. I'm sore. Sorry. Um, it's one of his popular phrases. This is one I don't know if I've called him out on the podcast before for this phrase. It got deleted off of Facebook. I can't find it anymore. It was him giving a speech, and he talks about basically when you see something wrong and you choose not to stand up against it, you're as wrong itself. He's talking about these RAAs being fired, and he's now standing up against it because he thinks it's wrong. And if he didn't stand up against it, he would be as wrong itself. Again, we got to go back to 2013 when James Henry was in a position inside the union. If you didn't think the DAS award was wrong, I don't know what to tell you. But if you did think the DAS award was wrong, if you thought a two-tier pay scale was wrong, where did you stand up against it? In 2016, when the two-tier pay scale continued, where did you stand up against it? In 2019, when for a third time, the two-tier pay scale was endorsed by the NALC. Where did you stand up against it? You didn't, as far as I can tell. I have not seen anything. And so you are as wrong itself. back to this idea that there was no reason to fire them other than they were on the CLC's slate. John Cruz also, I don't know who he is. Maybe president down in Brooklyn. I don't know. He gets on later and he says they've been going after Orlando for a while, right? They sent investigators to check out what was going on in his region. So okay, the regime's been going after you. They clearly disagree with how things are being run. They sent investigators in to say there's no reason. Then why would they do that? You can blame it on politics. That's fine. Still not against the rules, unfortunately. The Constitution needs amending, but the CLC has no plans to amend that. That's unfortunate and hypocritical. They plan on using it, as I said later or earlier. Um, they'll be using the same tactic, right? When they get in, if they get in, and there's a Brian Renfro appointed RAAs that Corey or James Henry feel they are not doing things correctly, they're going to get rid of them. That's the structure. Let's step back from the from Ada arbitration episode and talk more generally about the CLC's hypocrisy. Like I said, from Ada arbitration, there are so many examples of hypocrisy. Anything from complaining about Brian Renfro promising things and then guaranteeing that you're going to be the next MBA of your region, right? Hypocrisy. Complaining that Brian Renfro promised things and then promising that you're going to be the next director of city delivery. Hypocritical. Complaining about Brian promising contract bargaining goals or even accomplishments because they were promised. And then going and promising that you're going to be the next vice president or executive vice president. That's hypocritical, right? It's a promise. When you guarantee things, that's promising. But let's step back. We're going to, again, if you're a table two carrier, the CLC is not coming to save you. They're not going to prioritize you. They're not going to change the structure of the NALC to help you. Period. Full stop. They are just more of the same. They're more of the good old boys club. They want the dictatorship, right? They want everything to continue. As James Henry puts it, the structure is not the problem, it's the application, right? We want the dictatorship. We just want a dictator with integrity. They're not coming to help you, table two. So let's go into more general concepts here. The CLC pretends to be the anti-establishment platform, right? Corey Walton says it at least a couple hundred times throughout his podcast. We're the anti-establishment. James Henry is the anti-establishment. Let's look at the facts. There is no candidate running for next year's national position for president who is more establishment than James Henry. There is no one who has been in the establishment more than James Henry, for longer than James Henry. His entire career has essentially been in the establishment. He was a carrier in 1988. By 1991, he became an area steward. Now, that region's area is pretty large. I would imagine an area steward is probably pretty close to a full-time position. That would mean that he carried mail for 3 years. If it's not a full-time position, that's fine. In 1995, he became an arbitration advocate. I'm going to go ahead and assume that most of that time is not carrying mail. Again, big region. Probably very, very active on the arbitration, right? We know he has a record of great arbitration wins. I'm assuming he wasn't carrying mail. So that means he carried mail for 7 years. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he was still carrying mail, okay? That means in 1998, he went to Step B. He was part of the first Step B group, the pilot program for the Step B that's working so well for us. So that's in 1998. I'm assuming Step B is a full-time position. That means he carried mail for 10 years. Still think it was probably just three, but that's fine. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. In 1999, he became the vice president of 1100. Big branch, full-time position. Maximum, he carried mail for 11 years and has spent the next 26 years in the establishment. More than likely, it was 3 years carrying, and then let's see, 35 years in the establishment. You want anti-establishment, you don't go for the CLC. They're the establishment. James Henry is the establishment. You want anti-establishment, you go to someone outside, someone who hasn't held a position. Me. Uh, let's talk about the CLC's um, self, I don't know, uh, prescribe. Nah, they call themselves the reform movement or the reform platform, right? The reform ticket, the reform slate, whatever you want to call it. Let's go through and read their platform, their slate, or their platform, what they expect, what they want to change. Go ahead and read it. You won't find much. Maybe there's a more detailed section out there. This one doesn't seem updated all that well. I'm just going off their website. Maybe there's more detail out there. I don't know. So let's talk about some of the reforms they want to do. They want to form a main table bargaining committee, right? That consists of the president and two executive council members. Okay. So you have backups in case you have to go to rehab. Okay. In case you get taken out during negotiations, whatever. So you have backups. Like this is based on Brian Renfro leaving negotiations and no one having a clue where negotiations stood. I get that. That's cool. It doesn't really help anything, right? It's still a one-man show. This doesn't say that the executive council members that are part of the committee get a say at the table. They literally say it's for redundancy. So we have a dictator, right, negotiating the next contract for 200,000 carriers. But now there's at least a line of succession. That's helpful. Big change. Oh, yeah. No, still have a dictator, still have one guy negotiating for 200,000 carriers. But at least if he dies or something, there's someone to take over. That's helpful. I think Table 2 would prefer just to not have a dictator, not have one person negotiating the contract. That seems better. This committee, this main table bargaining committee, will give detailed reports to the EC, the Executive Council. That does literally nothing. If you, again, we all remember the executive privilege or the executive sessions, right? You can give the report, you can give the Executive Council whatever information you want. If you do it under executive privilege or executive session, guess what? You accomplish nothing. It's not very helpful. None of this addresses the executive privilege or the executive sessions. Maybe you should do that. I would get rid of the executive sessions. There's absolutely no reason to not have that out there. Full transparency. I also would not go into bargaining by myself, despite the fact that I'm allowed to, per the current Constitution. That's stupid. And so I wouldn't do that. Oh. So, per their platform, they have transparency being the key ingredient, for I will lift the veil of secrecy that surrounds national headquarters. Now, I think there's just a typo there. They threw in a 4. It sounds okay. I don't think it should be there. Transparency being the key ingredient, I will lift the veil of secrecy. That sounds better. I will ensure the Executive Council minutes and financial reports will be published in the postal record. Again, what if it's the executive session or the executive privilege session? Is that in the minutes? I don't think so. The financial report? Okay. That's helpful, I think, maybe. I'm fine with that. Although, recently I don't remember what pod he was on. Uh, Corey was asked if they were going to release the CLC's financial reports, right? He said no, because Mike Cariff did it. He was transparent on his financial dealings. Corey said no. Okay. So yeah, it's interesting that the CLC won't just put their stuff out there right now, but they're saying they'll do it to the they'll put the executive council financial report out there. Okay, sure. Again, this platform isn't really suggesting how, I mean, these aren't amendments to the Constitution that they're suggesting. They're just saying they're going to do it. Good luck. You still have a dictator, so he can just choose not to follow his own platform. Um, None of this addresses the executive sessions or the executive privilege sessions. That needs to be done away with. That shouldn't exist. On the reform for the backlogged cases, right? Brian Renfro, and the website still says 15,000 backlog cases. So I don't think they're updating that all that often. They should have it at 40 something now, 40,000 backlog cases, 42,000, whatever it is now. Um, they say, this is from his platform, we can develop a force of aggressive advocates breaking the backlog, protecting the rights of letter carriers, and improving working conditions. That means literally nothing. Literally. I'm going to have aggressive advocates? Are you saying your advocates now are not aggressive? The system's not working. You don't need more aggressive people. Aggression's not going to get you arbitrators. Aggression is not going to get you more active Step B teams. Aggressive advocates isn't going to get you shit. It literally means nothing. It does not address the issue of not activating backup teams, of not having more arbitrations. Those are the issues. It does not address that at all. It's the political statements, right? It's the same as I know we're going to be leaders in uh, wages, benefits, and working conditions. That's just political speak. That means nothing. There's no specifics there. The entire platform is political speak. There's no specifics. The entire platform is just more of the same. There is no change. There is no reform. And if you're considering calling yourselves self-labeled the reform slate and you have no reform, you're a hypocrite. On to table two and how hypocrisy and the CLC affects table two, right? Since this is a pod for table two, again, you might be thinking, wait, the CLC doesn't have a plan for us? Us poor table two carriers? They don't really even address it, right? You hear the hypocrisy in the podcast all the time. We love all the carriers. Got to represent all the carriers. Okay. So how about us down here on table two? Their platform, go read it. It starts off with a two-tiered pay scale is bad. Okay. But we already know that two-tier pay scale per the most recent contract, right? That's gone. Everyone's on table two now. There's no specifics. It's just the generic political crap. We deserve to be leaders in pay and wages and benefits. Right? It's just political crap. Two-tier pay scale, bad. Okay. That's not helpful. Thank you. You're not prioritizing us. Table two needs to be prioritized. Just saying that two tiers, oh, that's bad. That does nothing. Oh, again, table two. The CLC is not coming to save you. They're not going to fix the structure of the NALC to benefit you. They are not going to prioritize you. You can go read the platform. It's all cut and dry. There's pretty much no change, right? Still going to have a dictator. CLC has already said, per from ADA arbitration, that they will go after RAAs. They will go after MBAs that don't agree with them. It's just more of the same. Um, we're gonna in a future podcast, we're gonna try and have on Mr. Rivera, right? He's gonna talk about let's see, the election process. I know he's filed some complaints essentially, some appeals to decisions of the election process, uh, where multiple CLC leaders showed a complete lack of interest in following the rules. Sounds familiar, right? Sounds like the current regime, because that's what it is. It's just more of the same. It's the good old boys network. That's the whole podcast that they just had. It's to protect two of their own. It's not to protect the membership. It's not to change the structure of the NLC to benefit the membership. It's not to give you on table two a voice. It's to protect their own. It's a good old boys club that does not follow the rules, right? As my buddy Andy puts it, it's good for thee, not for me. I think that's the way it is. It's not good for me, not for thee. No, it's good for thee. The rules are good for thee, not for me. I don't have to follow the rules because guess what? I'm in control. That concept. That's the good old boy system. That's what you're going to get if you think the CLC is going to come save you and fix the NALC, or if you think the CLC is going to fix the NALC, that's not going to happen. You're going to get more of the same. We need true reform. And if you want true reform, you don't go one run down the ladder. If you want anti-establishment, you don't go two runs down the ladder. You need a true outsider, someone not corrupted by the establishment, who hasn't spent their entire career in the establishment, not someone who's been indoctrinated or manipulated by the structure and the system, the corrupt system. That's me. I'm the outsider. That's it for now. Like I said, again, sorry for not having a podcast last week. We'll try and get back into it. Apathy got me. If you guys want an aside, here's what happened. I have a messed up ankle. I had a doctor's appointment. My ankle's been messed up for 6 weeks. Made a doctor's appointment. Did not get brought back to see the doctor. Yep. Didn't happen. They closed. They never called my name. Apathy is not just in the NLC. It's everywhere. And so I got really frustrated. I also that evening had to talk to Verizon Wireless tech support. Yep. In, I don't know, China, Cambodia. I'm not sure where they were. They also didn't give a shit. Apathy runs rampant. And so it got to me. I was like, why bother fixing the NLC if life outside the NLC is still going to be full of apathy, full of people that just don't care. And so I got down, and I missed an episode. We'll be back on it. It's fine. We got to break that apathy. Just keep walking forward. That was the hardest. It's always the hardest thing. You walk into your office and you get overwhelmed. You see the parcels. Man, I used to be on this 1,100 delivery units, all CBUs, and you'd walk in and there'd be parcels for two trucks. Like you're just not, you can't fit them all in one truck. Overwhelming. You just got to take a step forward, right? You're overwhelmed in the office. Keep doing what you're doing. Get to the street, deliver that first package. Guess what? You have one less package. Deliver the next package. One less package. Halfway through the day, your truck's half empty. Just keep moving forward. That's what we're going to do. That's what we all have to do. Take these little steps and just keep moving forward. That's all I got for now. I'm going to go catch up on some much needed sleep. I'm going to take some sleeping pills tonight because I'm beat. Um, Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you soon enough.